come here and you've brought good and wealth, but you have also brought your bad habits as a backslider. You've lusted after women, and you have abandoned your child. Your child that you raised, you have abandoned all because he was sick and you have sinned. So say it now. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
Say it louder. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
Louder, Daniel. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
I am sorry, Lord.
I am sorry, Lord.
I want the blood.
I want the blood.
You have abandoned your child.
I've abandoned my child.
I will never backslide.
I will never backslide.
I was lost, but now I am found.
I was lost, but now I'm found.
I have abandoned my child. Say it.
I abandoned my child.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my boy.
Beg for the blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Abraham
And Nick.
How you guys doing tonight?
I'm tired.
I'm good. I'm
honest.
cold.
Yeah, it's wild weather
Yes.
here in the valley. Like it was raining today. It got to a low, I think, of like 60 or 70
yeah,
or
something
something.
like that. Real low.
And then like next week, it's going to get back up to 90.
90. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I have a story because I love the cold, right?
Yeah, me too.
But this was one of the situations where I was dying. I was literally dying. So I've been having car problems, right? Batteries dying or whatever, and it's super cold. I mean, it's like it's super cold out. So I get into my car and I plug in my phone. Everything's really loud. The air's going on blast. So I'm driving, trying to turn the air down, and literally it's all the way off, and the air's still blowing. And I was like, what the heck? So I think my car, like, the technology glitched out to where the air conditioning literally would not turn off.
Oh,
So
that's
it was
rough.
cold outside, rainy. I'm all wet. And I got blasting cold air on me. And I got a 30-minute drive home.
Turn it to a popsicle.
I'm straight up sitting there going, because I couldn't do anything.
That sucks.
Yeah, so that's a little bit, I mean, I love the cold, but that was too much for me, man.
Yeah. My dad said that he used to, whenever he was in high school, he was the first one of his friends to get a car, and so he would go and pick all of his friends up. And he said that like in the winter they would play a game they created called Freeze Out, and they would roll all the windows down in the winter, blast the AC, and take their shirts off. And whoever put their shirt back on first lost. And then they would do the same thing in the summer. They would roll all the windows up and blast the heat.
Oh, heck no, dude.
And keep all their clothes on, and whoever took their shirt off first lost.
Oh,
And
no,
they
dude.
had to like buy
What'd they
lunch.
lose?
They like had to like buy lunch for everyone, or like everybody got to like hit him in the nuts or something.
Something
like
dumb,
something
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
should do that.
No way.
Oh, no.
Let's do blast out or whatever.
Freeze out? I could do
Freeze
that.
out.
Yeah. But yeah. So
It was tough, man.
So, the juxtaposition of somebody doing it for fun and then the other person having no choice.
Dude, it was literally all the way down, like off. Still blasting, full blast. And I turned the heat, still icy cold.
Wow.
So I was like,
At least we know you got a good AC.
oh, it worked a little too well.
Yeah.
I was looking like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, bro.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, hopefully the audio
it's
is
better. Yeah, hopefully.
So I think we've got it down. Or at least we fixed the problem from last episode. So if that is the case, perfect. Hopefully you're hearing us in much better quality and not all echoey and nasty.
Yeah,
like
sorry,
just the audio
again.
from the camera. But yeah, apologize for last week. Things happen.
Yep.
It was bound to one episode. We're 91 episodes in now. This is the 91st.
I guess. Yeah, I
believe
think
so.
Yeah.
So it was bound to happen sooner or later down the road, and last episode was just the week that it decided to happen.
Better that it's on the 90th rather than the 100th, right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Because that'll be, that would have been
a milestone
Yeah.
for sure. But
Oh,
yeah,
man.
so last week we did an episode on My Neighbor Totoro, and at the end of the episode, it was revealed that we were going to be talking about today's film that we're going to be talking about, which is There Will Be Blood.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in 2007, is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and this is the second film of his that we are going to be talking about on the podcast today.
Yes.
The first one we did was Punch Drunk Love, which is one of my favorites by him. I really do love that film. But I think that this one is, I could say, is my favorite of the ones that I've watched so far. And this film specifically is about an oil man named Daniel Plainview.
Mm-hmm.
And he stumbles upon, he lives in California, and he stumbles upon what we come to discover is oil early on before, the oil rush, or like, I'm not exactly sure what was going on at the time. But there was a ton of oil that was being discovered in California, like specifically around the Bakersfield area.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that whenever I was going to the Dodger game in Los Angeles for the first time, when we drove through Bakersfield, I saw all of the derricks,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like pumping the oil out of the ground and working and stuff. And so whenever I saw it, I was like, man, this reminds me of There Will Be Blood. And
Yeah.
it's even crazier when you think about how this movie is supposed to be all set in California.
Mm-hmm.
So
I heard San Luis Obispo being
yeah,
spoken in there. I was like, oh,
yeah,
I've been there.
Even Bakersfield is spoken on it.
Yeah.
That's true. That's weird.
yeah. So regardless of all of that, this man discovers oil in California and starts to become like almost like this like mogul, but for drilling oil in California in the time period that he's at. And we kind of just watch this man develop into this monolith almost of wealth and power and greed and all of the things that come along with all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has like a 16-year beef with a local pastor in the in the area that he buys out. And we watch all of that go down as well. And it's a great film. I am really excited to talk about it with you guys. This was my second time watching it. I believe it was your second time as well, Nick.
It was, yeah.
And then your first.
It was
Right?
my first.
Yeah. What are we feeling initially?
This movie's wild.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's good. It's a good movie,
It's
but this
insane.
movie is wild.
So I this was one of those films that I checked out because of one of the cinema pages I follow on Instagram, and they would always post the baptism scene where he's just where he's screaming, "I've abandoned my child!"
Yeah.
And I would see it all the time and be like, man, I want to know the context behind the scene. Like this guy looks insane. He's
Context
screaming
makes
at
it so much worse.
screaming at the top of his lungs,
Yeah.
And one day I was at Mad Monk and I saw the movie for like $6, and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to check this out. It's $6 here. There's no reason for me not to. Like, it's such a deal. I'm just gonna grab it and a couple other films at the time, and I bought it, and then it sat on my shelf like
Forever.
for a while,
Yep.
and it was just sitting there. And then one day, my wife had to go do a couple of things, and it was like a Saturday morning or something like that. And I knew that this was a movie that I wanted to check out first because I didn't know if she would be into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched it while she was away. And when I finished it, I was just floored. And I remember texting you guys afterwards
Bro.
and said, Daniel Day-Lewis, I think, has put on some of the best acting I've ever seen put to film
Mm-hmm.
in general on this movie. And I know it's a bold claim. I
It
think.
is, yeah.
It's a very bold claim.
Yeah.
But I still think the claim holds up. I think
Yeah.
it's arguable.
It's a great movie.
It's very arguable, like, with this guy's performance when it comes to this film. And I was lucky enough to watch it again for the podcast and show Alexa the film, and
she felt the same as
she
you?
was loving it. She was by the end of it, she was like, "Wow, that was great! Like, that was a really good movie."
Good.
And we just sat afterwards for like 20 minutes just talking about some of the intricacies of the story and themes and all that stuff, and character motivations and all this. And we were just like, this movie was great. Like, and to think that this came out in the same year as No Country for Old Men,
Yeah, it did.
and that them two films were battling it out at the Oscars to see who was going to win more
awards.
More awards. Obviously ended up being No Country for Old Men. But yeah, it's one of those things where you look back at a year for movies and you're like, man, dude, how did anyone even pick Like, how did anyone even pick what the best movie was going to be? Because there was so much good stuff that came out.
Yeah,
you
too
know?
many good stuff.
So,
Good
But
things
yeah.
coming out.
I'm excited to break it down with you guys. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It is streaming on Paramount Plus right now. Is that where you guys checked it out at?
Yeah, I
Yep.
watched it on Paramount Plus.
Me too.
Okay. So if you have that streaming service, go check it out there. If not, rent it, borrow it from somebody if they've got it, or go pick up a copy. It's definitely worth a purchase. And check it out. I think it's a movie everybody should watch once.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely has like, I think, performances of a lifetime. If you know, some of the actors here were to like quit acting, you know, that I think that this movie would probably be their magnum opus.
Oh yeah. I also think it's a good start to just getting into some of Paul Thomas Anderson's work.
Oh yeah.
Because if Punch Drunk Love is a little too like wild and out
chaotic
there and chaotic for you, you're like, oh, I don't know. I feel like this one is a very streamlined, very efficient story.
Yeah, and I think it has all the qualities of a PTA film.
Yeah, it does.
Like when I think of the whole oil derrick scene where it's bursting up into flames.
Yeah.
And all the chaos and you know the score just being insanely like tense and high strung.
Yeah.
And I think about, you know, certain scenes in Punch Drunk Love where it's got
Same-
that. And
same-
it's the same exact feeling the entire time. And I really appreciate what he does with this movie and how he like interjects his own style into certain things, especially here. So,
and I will say too, you look at the runtime and you think, geez, 2 hours and 40 minutes. But for me, I think it's justified.
Yeah.
Honestly, they soak up every single minute they can with just beautiful storytelling.
Definitely.
So,
and I gotta say, like, you know, I don't care too much about slow burner films.
Yeah.
If you have a good enough story that's gonna keep me invested for that runtime, then I'm in. And you know, length won't necessarily drive me away unless it's a movie like Satanyango, or I forget how you say it, where it's like 8 hours long.
Yeah.
And I still have yet to watch it.
Yeah.
I own it. Nick bought it for me. And
more as like you have it. You know,
Yeah.
more of like, oh, this is a part of your collection.
yeah, and knowing that film was like 8 hours long, I'm like, oh, dude.
They,
That's a whole work
They
day.
don't expect you to watch it all in one shot. I don't think.
Would you?
Yeah. See, and that's the thing for me is
No.
I'm the type of person where I feel like I gotta watch
You
it all in one
can't.
sitting.
Not with a movie like that.
No.
dude.
Would you call into work one day? Use vacation day, just that's your work.
To watch that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It depends on how much hours I had saved up.
Yeah,
Then I'd
seriously.
do it. Like if it was like December 31st and I had to use them,
Yeah,
I'm watching that movie.
for sure. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this with you guys. I'm excited to break it down. I feel like
sure.
there's a lot to say. So I guess without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with
Favorite
our
scenes.
first favorite scenes.
What do you got for us, Isaiah?
So my first one isn't technically like the intro of the film or anything, although I do love the intro.
Can we talk about the intro? Because I wrote down about the intro that why the heck is it so freaking ominous?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
the
you don't know this character. You don't know what he's
No.
doing.
You don't know anything.
You just-
And the music that immediately
It's the
opens the
freaking
movie
music, dude.
it just gets you to be like,
What the hell's
what
going
the
on?
heck is going to go on?
Yeah,
Like,
it reminds me of The Shining in that aspect.
I literally wrote that down.
Yeah,
I literally wrote that. I was like, it feels so like it's got these like strings that are just going.
yeah, and it goes.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
and it's ominous. There's.
Mhm.
It feels like a horror movie.
No, it
And
felt
you're-
like
and
a
you're-
horror movie.
You're looking at this desert landscape, and then you cut to this guy. He almost looks like Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's like covered in darkness. You can barely see him, and then he's in this cave just hunkering away at this mine, and you have no idea what's going on, and you just see him like mining essentially, and he's playing real life Minecraft.
Really,
essentially.
dude. You're getting some iron ore right now.
But yeah, it's weird. It's ominous, and like there's no dialogue that's spoken for like the first almost 20 minutes of the film.
It's quite a bit, and like I said, not knowing anything about this movie, I immediately thought this was gonna be a scary movie.
Mm.
Just because I mean, with the title, you can maybe assume. I mean, there will be blood. What can that? That can only mean so many things.
Yeah.
And then with the music opening like that, I was like, "What the heck am I about to watch?" Almost like when you we got to watch Hereditary,
Yeah.
Oh.
because that was a movie that I did not know what I was getting into.
Yeah. It takes a turn.
And this took a turn for me because I was not, like I said, I was expecting something scary.
Yeah.
and it's something completely different.
Yeah, I think the intro is definitely impactful in that regard because it immediately hooks you, and you're like, okay, am I supposed to be looking out for something?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who is this guy?
Mhm.
There's no words being spoken. Like, I don't know what's going on, and then
Yeah.
you find yourself getting, attached to this guy. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
oh, he's got a baby he's got to care for. Oh, he's got people working for him.
Yeah.
One of the guys just died. Like, and then you just get sucked in, and I think it's great in that
Yeah,
regard.
that's one thing I wanted to say too. I was really subverted because the first time I'd watch it, I was like, oh, okay, this guy's a minor. He's not going to be literate. He's not going to be able to talk at all. Or like, he's not going to be very eloquent or whatever. He's just going to be like, because it's in the 1890 something, right?
Yeah, it's almost like the turn of the century.
So I figured it was just going to be like this sloppy dialogue, like the minor speech, right?
yeah,
But then the first time we get dialogue, it's literally him and this like, oh, I mean, I don't mean to be plain spoken, and he
Yeah.
just seemed like a very down to earth guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this kind of voice coming out of this like rugged iron dirt covered man.
yeah.
I enjoyed that subversion.
Yeah, so my first favorite scene actually is Daniel pitching to the town about drilling their oil. And it's
Yes.
whenever the actual first, moments of dialogue come in. And I love that. So, and this takes, you only really notice this whenever you finish the film and you start thinking about it or you rewatch it. But in this whole opening monologue that he's giving this town, he's talking about like, I like to consider myself an oil man, and I have, an oil rig that produces like 4,000 gallons a day, bringing me an income of $5,000 a week. So I would say I'm an oil man. And he's essentially saying that like, if you want me to come in here and drill your oil, I'm going to buy the land, but I'm going to buy it for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna you're not gonna lowball me or anything like that. I'm gonna get it for what it's, not for what it's worth, essentially. And he's telling these people like, it's gonna bring you jobs, it's gonna bring you wealth, it's gonna make everything around here flourish and all this stuff. And people start to uprise and get real loud and all this stuff. And then Daniel just gets up and leaves with his son, and it's just like, I'm not interested. I wouldn't take it if you gave it to me for free.
Mhm.
Like I'm not doing it anymore.
And all of wasn't there a thing like just flowing down?
Yeah.
Like that's why they needed him?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And what I love about this scene is I love that from the jump, this guy's a snake.
Mm-hmm.
And on a first watch, or a watch where you don't remember what's going on, or you haven't seen it in a while, this guy seems like he's like a family man. He
does.
spins this narrative that he's like, I consider myself a family man. Everybody that works with me, I know them on a personal level. I work, to provide for my family so that way you guys can provide for yours. I believe that that's like a core aspect of why I do what I do. And he's trying to sell this town on this idea that he's like a good guy and that he is, somebody to be trusted. He's somebody that, people can lean on, and he's not going to do any harm to them or anything like that. But in the back of this guy's mind, knowing the context of the film, this guy is doing this all because he's greedy, and he wants to pull the rug out from under these people without them knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the lie that Daniel spins about being a family man and trying to make sure that these people know that he's a good guy and trying to keep up this image of that. And I think that he walks at the end of it because he realizes that the town that he's in is not going to be swindled by what they have. They understand what they've got, and they're not going to let him walk away with it for cheap. And so everybody starts to kind of uprise a little bit, and he just kind of is like, okay, and just leaves.
Yeah.
And is like trying to make them think, you need me more than I need you, And eventually he doesn't end up, walking away with like, ownership of that town or that land or anything like that. And I also I love the way that it's shot. I love HW just sitting behind him, just like stiff as a board, like not saying anything. And immediately like this guy is like a completely different person from when we saw him whenever he was mining, versus now he's like all in this like wool suit, this hat.
Proper.
He's got this like sick mustache.
Yes.
I want a mustache like
The
that.
Yeah.
thickest mustache you've
and
seen.
you know, and he, like you had said, he's speaking eloquently.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that a guy like this in this type of profession would be as well spoken as he is,
Mhm.
or anything like that. And it's just a really good scene, and it's a really good foundation for what is to be built for
Yeah.
the rest of the film.
For sure, and it definitely sets up the idea of like, especially on a first watch or when you don't remember his character, you start to be like, yeah, this guy, he has like qualities that I like, qualities that are.
I found myself liking him a lot.
He's full of integrity. He literally says, you know, I have men that work for me and that we can do the job in 10 days. I know it. Like he's really a man of his word. It seems like he's building. We're building up this character to be all of these great things that
Yes.
we would aspire to be. And then the beautiful thing about this movie is that slowly it starts to get destroyed. We start to see these false personas come out.
Yes.
We start to see all the lies seep through, which is why I think this introduction to his character works so well, is because you were like, wait, I like this guy.
Yeah.
What the heck is happening? Like,
Yeah.
why are you acting like this? I like you. I want you to succeed. But he's really just destroying
Yeah.
everything he built, pretty much.
Exactly.
So that was a fantastic introduction to him. Do you have any other?
My first
Anything
favorite scene
next?
is when, so in the beginning we get introduced to him, and he's in this mine shaft or whatever you want to call it, and you could tell it's barely early on in production, like it's barely new, and you see that they're trying to get oil. And my favorite scene is when they first strike oil, when it just shoots up, and everybody was just like, get it done. Like they were just trying to get it done and get it taken care of, and you could just see them all happy and excited. They're like, finally, like after all this work, we have a result, and it's beautiful. It's like liquid gold, like a lot of people call oil.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I like it because the beginning again is so ominous.
Yeah.
It makes you think it's so totally different, and you get to the scene where everybody's just so joyful and hopeful that there's more oil.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they're totally opposites, but I loved it.
Yeah. Is that the one whenever they're like bringing that like spear out, and he's like holding the thing,
Yeah.
and then lets it go, and it goes
Yes.
down
Right
into
into
the hole.
it goes,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Super sick.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I don't know anything about oil.
Me
I
either.
wish I
I
did.
don't
It
either.
seems super interesting. Like, why?
Yeah.
How do they know?
Yeah, and this movie, it kind of makes me want to read the book that it's loosely based on.
Yeah.
Which is
It's
it's
literally
titled Oil.
Yeah,
and it's
Oil.
written by Upton Sinclair, and it's more of like a political commentary on what oil is and capitalism and socialism and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard
and-
to keep politics out of oil, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the book is. That's where this movie takes a lot of inspiration from. It's kind of adapted very loosely around that book, and it definitely makes me want to check the book out.
Yeah.
It came out in like 1927, and I've heard from from everything I've read online that it's great. So
Yeah, I want to learn more.
yeah,
I always see trucks pull in our town and stop at like a random dirt lot and get oil there.
yeah,
Like, I think of the one by Pedro's. And that dirt lot across the street, it's always, I want to say like twice a year, there's always a truck getting oil there.
yeah,
And I'm just like, what the heck? How?
Dude, I'm glad we don't just leave oil in just pools.
Yeah,
like on the surface.
yeah, like they do.
When I saw that, I was
Yeah.
like, because they just straight up start dropping
dumping
buckets
it.
in and dumping.
Yeah.
It's like a
Well,
like
how
an
else-
ocean.
How else are you supposed to store it?
Yeah, especially back then. But I was
Yeah.
always like, I was like, so dirty, bro. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to refine that. It's gonna be nasty.
Yeah,
Be dirty.
yeah,
Yeah, that scene was crazy too, and seeing that freaking pole destroy that.
I want to
fool.
see, I would like to see how an oil rig works.
yeah.
Because I feel like we see like, or at least I do on my Facebook feed, sometimes I see people do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, okay, I want to see like the whole process, not when oil is actually coming out. Like, I want to see why they're digging in that spot. This and this and that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My next one isn't until later on when they are building their first derrick in the town of Sunday.
Okay.
Mine's a little bit
The-
before that.
Little Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Little Boston. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Yes. So if yours is before that, go ahead.
Mine's when they pull a lie on the Sunday family, and they say they're quail hunting.
Mm.
Oh, you know what? Yes, that's true. That's true. But the reason why they go is because we see Paul Dano's character,
Yes.
and his name is Paul, And it blew my mind because you go and they go and they're quail hunting or whatever, and then you see him again.
And he's
But
all,
now his
"I'm
name is Eli."
He's all, I'm Eli.
And I was like, wait.
See, I noticed that too.
At first I was like, why are you lying?
Yeah.
Like, why? I know we just saw you. Why are you lying?
Yeah.
But
Why
obviously
you
it's
always lying?
twins.
Yes.
Because I was confused because I wrote one of my moments was when I said when Eli does this, but then I was like,
Isn't that
isn't that Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. But my favorite scene is, so they go to the Sunday ranch and they're like, oh, we'll just stay over here, be out of your way. Like we're just quail hunting for a couple days. We'll set up camp. And so it goes to that, and then it shows a scene where HW and gosh dang it, Daniel are just hunting. They're actually hunting, and HW leads off to this different way.
Say hunting very loosely. They're just
Yeah.
going, like it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like they're doing much.
Yeah. And so you see him just go off screen, and you hear a gunshot, and then you hear another gunshot, and then you see a bird that he killed, and it shows like a little bit of oil on surface, and you see his shoe. HW shoe goes and gets in it, and he goes, "Dad, look at my shoe," and then I just love it because he found it, and then he made sure it was actually oil, wasn't
Yeah.
like
It's
just
flammable.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
that was
goes-
pretty sick too.
And he
Yeah.
goes, "This is earthquake oil," and they just yell like, "Woo!" I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I loved it because then you see, from my first watch, I didn't know that he's an orphan. You
Yeah.
assume that's his kid,
Mm-hmm.
and the aspect is so cute,
Yeah.
but it also is like a major thing in the scene because before we got told like, hey, there is oil here.
Yeah.
You need to come and buy this land.
Yes. Yeah, and one of the things I really like about this upcoming scene, it's in a bra moment for me, was when he goes back and or actually I actually don't have it written down in a bra moment. I have written down that finding out that Paul and Eli are twins
Mhm.
in a bra moment. But
Wait, there's two of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eli and Paul, they're twins.
They're twins. They're identical twins.
Yeah. That's why they look the same. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
what the? But they're twins.
wait.
Because initially I was like, oh, he's just playing the lie because he doesn't want his dad to
that's
know
what I
that
thought the
he-
whole time.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
But at the end, he keeps
Paul
saying
was
he
the
said,
chosen
Paul
one."
is the chosen one.
Yeah.
He's the prophet,
Oh,
not you.
dude.
Yeah.
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 No, but were you going to talk about the scene where they go and they're starting to negotiate during
Yes.
dinner?
And
I
this
hate this
this
scene.
is where Eli and Daniel start to
I know what we have.
beef with one another.
What about our oil?
Yeah, and
Tell me
and-
why the freaking dad is such a pushover, dude.
Yes. I
Why?
have no
Tell
idea.
me why.
And one of the things that I really enjoy about this little scene alone is it shows the type of person that Daniel is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he goes over and
He's a
originally is
liar,
like
dude.
he's like, "Oh yeah, I want to buy it for the quail prices.
He's a
We're not going to buy it
liar.
for the oil prices. So I'm going to buy all this land up for let's say $400
Mhm.
or something crazy." And the guy's like, "Okay, yeah, maybe." And then Eli jumps in. He's like, "Well, what about our oil? I know that's worth something."
Mhm.
And Daniel's like, well, we don't know anything about any oil. There might be some here. We don't know." And
Mhm.
he's like, "Well, our oil comes up right out of the ground." And he's like, "That's called seepage. Like, that just means that it could be right at the ground. It doesn't mean there's anything under it.
Mhm.
It could be set loose by an earthquake or something." Meanwhile, Daniel knows. He's like, "These guys got what I want. I'm not going to let them know that.
Mhm.
Like, I want to try to keep them under the table and let them know oh, what you guys got you
It's
don't know.
nothing.
You don't know. It's nothing. You don't know.
Sell it to me for dirt cheap.
Yeah, sell it to me for dirt cheap, and then watch. I'll profit off of it like crazy, and you're going to be
Mhm.
wondering, oh, why did I give this guy my land for $300 when it's worth
Yeah.
$100,000?
Yep.
And he's spinning this little web, and Eli the whole time is just knocking it down, and is like, "No, I know what I've got. I know what we have here. You're going to give us $10,000, not $300,000." And Daniel Day-Lewis does such a great job of facial acting where there's just these moments of silence where he just goes, "Okay,
Mhm.
$10,000. I can do that." It even gets to points where Eli almost feels like he's the one who wears the pants in the family,
Mhm.
and the dad is like, why you belligerating this man? Let him be. Like, let him say what he has to say. And Eli's like, no, I know what we've got here. We've got something valuable. If he wants it, he's got to pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a great scene to introduce both of those characters and how it's going to be between the two of them for the rest of the film.
Yeah, and we also get the idea of him, Eli wanting to build a church.
Yeah, and he's like, what do you need $10,000 for? And he's like, to build my church. And
that freaking church sticks through the entire movie. Dude.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
In regards to that church, it actually goes to my next favorite scene, which is Eli's sermon.
Oh my gosh, the arthritis.
The first sermon, yeah. With the
this isn't a bro moment.
The arthritis.
No, this is a bro moment because, yeah. Go ahead and say it.
This is very cult-like. It felt.
Yes, and one of the reasons that I really love this scene is because this is the scene where you recognize that Eli and Daniel are essentially the same person.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the business of swindling people and like almost being like snake oil salesmen and trying to like get one up on people, whether that be either financially or like spiritually, and making them believe that like they're better than what they are. And Eli the whole time is like preaching the sermon. He's really into it. And he goes up to this old woman. He's like, I received a message from God, and he gave me the power to heal you. And he goes up to this woman. She's like, you have arthritis, don't you, in your hands? And she's like, yeah, I do. He's like, do you want to be healed from this? And she's like, yes, I do. Who wouldn't, right? You have a sickness or an ailment that someone's telling you they could heal, and it's a gift from God. Yeah. And they're immediately like, oh yes, give it to me. And he starts going, get out of here, ghost, and starts like sucking on her fingers, it looks like almost, and like touching his hand and his face, and he just keeps going, get out of here, ghost. And he starts building up this big like facade and starts screaming. He's like, get out of here, ghost, I will crush you, and that, and starts like going insane. Everybody starts screaming and is just going, hallelujah, hallelujah, going crazy. And it's one of these scenes where I'm like, Paul Dano's a phenomenal actor. Mm-hmm. Like he's got talent for sure, and it makes me excited to see where he's going to continue in his career. But yeah, he just, you can immediately see these two having a battle of the wits, like during the sermon, and then afterwards, whenever he is like, I forget exactly what he says. I think he brings up the topic of pledging $5,000 or something like that, and he's like, you still haven't given it to me yet, or something. And Daniel says something like, well, in order for you to get your 5,000, we need to get this derrick up and running, so that way it can blow gold all over the place. And if we don't do that, then you're not going to get your 5,000. And he's like, well, I'm just saying, if you want to be a man of your word, you need to get me that $5,000, and you still have it. And he's like, well, listen, if you want it to happen, this oil there needs to get written up, and blah blah blah. And like, you could just see that Daniel's so obviously pissed off at Eli, and Eli continues to like ask for his money at the wrong time, like every time. And,
I mean, is there ever a wrong time for him? It's his money.
It's pledged. He does. It's owed to him.
Pledged.
At least.
But another thing that I have to say I really love about this scene is, Eli is sitting there going, get out of here, ghost, get out of here. And
the camera, is that what you're going to talk about?
Yes.
Okay. And I loved this.
And I love it.
I felt like the ghost.
Yes. Like, and like he's looking at us, and he's going, get out. And he like finally throws it out of the church, right, and says, it left. And then it cuts to this shot of Daniel, and he looks like sinister. Yeah. And it's almost like
he was the ghost.
He was the ghost. He's the devil, right? And he has not left. He's still there. And this evil presence, or this menacing, ominous figure is still there. And the show is over now. And but it never left. And I loved that shot of him, like this being like a real close up shot of him kind of looking down and looking at everybody.
He's probably just like, what did I just watch? Right now? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I'll return to like on YouTube just alone,
just to watch
scene.
that.
Yeah. But
my next one is when the derrick that they build explodes.
That's a favorite scene.
Yes,
It's a
dude.
favorite- well,
Yes,
it-
yes, that's
couple
my next
things
one.
that happen in it are bro moments, but I just love the visual of him looking at the derrick just spewing
Yeah.
hot flames
and the silhouette of just
of him.
seeing this orange glow.
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful.
Just black.
But
yeah.
in him not only seeing that and being devastated, but being happy. He's like,
yes,
you understand what this means?
yes.
We got an ocean of oil below us.
and no one can get to it except me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I
It's
think
so
this is
good.
the bro moment. This whole scene is the bro moment in a whole.
It for
No,
sure
like,
is.
it's for sure got its bro moments.
Yeah.
Like, but
The entire scene,
but
I
the
love
entirety
it.
of the scene, I love it. It's in it, and it's like 8 minutes,
It is.
It's a
and it's an
Good
insane. It's an insane 8-minute sequence
Yeah.
of just like chaos. And one of the things I love is that it's like it's chaos that feels so natural, but it's controlled by obviously by the director.
Mhm.
and
It's great. We'll get into it. But one of the things I love immediately from this whole thing is just the scale of everything
Yeah.
and how minuscule these people feel to this entire like oil rig that's just burning. And I also just everything looks beautiful.
Mhm.
Like the contrasting between like the oranges and the blues of the night sky and like the black of the oil that like
It's
is
just rain.
covering
Yeah.
like everybody, and it looks insane. And I understand like from this scene alone and a couple others why this movie won the Oscar for best cinematography.
Mhm.
And I also have to say like some of the bro moments that happen in this scene alone, like when the gas
Completely
comes-
changes the movie.
the
Dude,
gas
that-
comes, it like blows a couple of boards up, knocks HW on his back, causes him to go deaf. From there, like there's a couple other things that happen just off that alone. I know you've got a couple bro moments here as well.
no, yeah, it's just that's like you said, the whole almost 8 minutes of just pure chaos, and that's where it starts. And I
Mhm.
actually want to say I think it starts a little bit before that because we find out someone dies.
Yeah.
Well, and even before that too, whenever
He doesn't freaking
Daniel
get
doesn't
flat.
let Eli bless the well.
Oh yeah, all of these are
I
my
don't-
bro moments. Because
Yeah.
he claims he's like, well, all this bad
All this
stuff
wouldn't
is
have
happening.
happened. All this bad stuff is happening. It wouldn't have happened if you didn't let me bless the well.
Yeah,
And that's whenever he starts slapping him.
And I was glad he smacked. Oh, dude,
Yeah, but
I was so happy he smacked him.
it's a huge bro moment whenever he goes up to him and is like, "I'd like to say a couple words over the well. You could say this whenever I come up, the honorable priest of the third revelation or
Yeah.
something like that." And Daniel's just like,
sidelines
"Okay,
him.
all right, yeah, okay." And whenever he goes up to do it, Eli's waiting to go and bless the whale, and then afterwards he's like, "Okay, yeah, this well is named after Mary here, and yeah, let's get her started. Let's go." And it's just like he totally shafts Eli.
I was glad.
That Eli got shafted right there.
Yes,
Okay.
I didn't like Eli from the beginning. See this, and this is where I was stuck because I didn't think they were twins.
Okay.
I thought he was in the lie
Mm.
and was just playing a different part.
Mm.
I thought he was just flipping the script on Daniel.
No.
So then, when Eli was like, "No, I know what I got. This is what I want." I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna like him.
Okay.
Like I like Daniel already. I like what he's doing.
Mm.
And again, it's my first time watching this movie, so I don't know
Yeah.
know him. I don't know what's he really choosing to stand for.
Yeah.
So when he didn't let him do the blessing, I was like, good. Don't let another man belittle you. Don't let another man freaking tell you what to do with your land and
Mhm.
your oil rig.
Mm.
So
No,
I was just like,
I just felt bad because the only reason why he was there was because of that family.
Yes.
And that family was like, you can use our place. Like, we just want a thriving church.
Yes.
It's like, this is a way to do it. Let me say some words.
Yeah.
And when he does it, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
animosity.
Got burned.
Ooh,
Yeah.
like this isn't gonna end well.
Yeah.
Something bad's gonna happen between them two later.
Yeah, and then it ends
I
up
just- I-
causing this whole scene.
Yeah, it
This
does.
whole oil rig burning scene.
Yeah.
And even before that, that guy dies. And it's a gruesome freaking death.
Bro,
like
it's so-
Dude.
someone's working in the hole. The freaking sheath the sheath comes out of the thing and just impales this guy. Like it kills him. They got to fish his body out,
oh, the oil.
Covered in oil.
covered in
It
oil
just
and
might-
mud and blood. And it's insanity. It
Yeah.
Some of
starts
those
there.
shots are insane because you could tell the difference. The way that they work the cinematography is crazy because you could tell what's mud you can tell what's oil, and then you can tell what's blood on that body.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, bro.
I think one of the things that's really integral to the character development of Daniel in that area of scenes as well is whenever Fletcher goes up to him, and like Daniel had obviously been freaking drinking, and goes up to him and is like, "Hey, somebody died in the well," and he's like, "Oh, who was it?" And he said, "Joe Gunda." And he says, "Did I know him?" And meanwhile, we've known this guy to be like, I know all my workers. I'm a family man.
Say BS.
Yeah, and then while he doesn't even know this guy that just died. He has no connection to him. Doesn't have a care in the world who he is. And I think even after that, like, here's another bro moment that leads up to that scene. Whenever the blessing of the well doesn't happen, and they have like refreshments and all this stuff, and HW and Mary are running around playing, and Daniel stops Mary and brings her over, and he's like, "Oh, do you like the dress? Do you like the dress I bought you?" And previous to this, we got a random scene where HW says that Mary's father hits her, and he says that he beats her, and it's important to this scene specifically because he stops her and is like, "Oh, do you like your dress you got?" And she's like, "Yes, I do." And he says, "Okay,
are
good.
you glad
Are you glad I'm here?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." And he says, "Your dad doesn't hit you anymore, right?"
He's right there.
And he's right across the table from him, and he says it like out loud for everyone to hear. And she says, he's like, "No more hitting, right?" And she just goes, kind of like nods a little bit, and he goes, "Good, no more hitting, no more hitting." And then it gets this shot of Mary's father kind of looking at Daniel, and then he kind of looks back at him and like looks down in shame almost.
He's like, "How'd you know?" Like,
yeah,
I can't believe you found out my
it
secret.
was a huge bro moment.
It was just a bro moment when HW just straight up says it.
Yeah,
like he just said it out of nowhere when they were just chilling at the campfire, and goes, HW's father. No, what am I saying? Mary's father hits her.
Yeah.
And then that's when Danny goes, "Is that the little one?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, and it's because I think it's because she doesn't pray.
Yeah. He says he beats her when she doesn't pray.
Yeah.
Which is,
yeah. But yeah, like all those bro moments all take place like before this scene even happens.
Yeah.
And whenever the scene ends, and like we see them go in with all the TNT in the barrels
to stop the fire,
collapse the hole.
Was it to collapse the hole?
Yeah, it's to collapse because all of that fire is going because all of the oxygen is continuing to let that fire go. So you have to collapse the hole and cut off its oxygen in order for it to stop. And it's such a smart idea. Like,
first they have a riot
shield. They've got like one guy with like a piece of like sheet metal, like a piece of like sheet metal or wood or something like in the front of it.
Yeah.
And they've got like these long like pieces of wood attached to these barrels on wheels, and they're full of
dynamite.
TNT,
Yeah, full of TNT.
And they throw it in there and then just start running and blow that thing up, and it eventually stops. And it's that's the end to that whole scene.
Yeah, that whole scene was just. It was awesome. And it was the first time I really noticed the soundtrack really working in favor to elicit these emotions from us.
Yes.
Man.
The whole time it's like tick, 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 tick,
yeah.
tick, like it's very chaotic.
Yeah,
and this is where it reminds me of Punch Drunk Love, where the score in Punch Drunk Love is so unique, and you can pick it out. If you know it, you're like, "Oh man, I know this." Like and it's stressing me out. Like just the music alone is stressing me out.
Yeah.
And this has that same quality.
Yeah, that's what I felt during this scene.
Yeah. You guys got any more favorite scenes after that one?
I think so. Yeah. Oh, I have the one where, it's after this scene where his ears get blown out and he becomes deaf, and we get to see a bunch of scenes where he's trying to connect with them, but he can't hear him. He's snapping all the time. You can't hear him. He's giving him milk with liquor in it,
dude. That's
to make him sleep. I mean, eventually, it becomes too much of a burden for him because of some other bro moments that we'll get to.
Yes.
But he ends up. We'll talk about the bro moments that comes with freaking HW. But the one of my favorite scenes is when they go to the train.
Okay.
And they're like, he's trying to. We don't exactly know why they're sitting on the train, and he goes, they're sitting there, and he goes, wait here. I'm going to go talk to the conductor. You just wait here. I'll be right back. And he gets up, and goes through the door and then goes out of the train and walks away. And immediately you know, oh crap, he's sending
leaving
him off.
He's
leaving
abandoning him.
Yeah, he's abandoning him. And you see Fletcher get on, and he's walking away. The whole time you can see him like he's really hurting.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to, but he's doing it, and he's holding back his tears and all that stuff. And it cuts back to HW, and he's in the train, and he feels the train jerking like it's starting to move, and he's like, "What the heck? My dad's not here. What the heck's happening?"
Yeah.
And Fletcher comes and holds him, and you just hear him go, "No, no."
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it just because of how emotional it was, but
Yes.
I hated seeing this because they seem like such good,
Yeah.
like good for each other.
Yes.
And I think this is the turn of his character as well.
Yep.
We get to see Daniel slowly be on the decline because
Yes.
his son is not there.
Yes.
But just that scene, man, I loved it.
Yeah. So that. Do you have any other?
No, I don't have actually any more favorite scenes. Most of mine are all bro moments.
Okay. So I have two more, and your scene is integral to mine and understanding kind of the context behind it. But it's the baptism scene, and this is the scene that I was talking about.
My child.
Yeah, this is the scene that I was talking about whenever I had seen them on the cinema pages I follow on Instagram, and the context a little bit behind it is that there is a certain piece of land throughout this whole area of Little Boston that has yet to be sold to Daniel, because by the guy's name is William Bandy. And it's a specific piece of land called the Bandy Tract, and it's the one piece of land throughout the entire area that Daniel does not own.
And he needs.
Because at the time, when Mr. Bandy found out that he was purchasing all the land, he didn't want to go to the town whenever he was buying up all the land. He asked that Daniel come to him personally and speak with him, and he never did.
He never did.
And so it gets to the point where we find out that Daniel wants to send a pipeline from Little Boston all the way to the coast of California, and in order to do so, he needs that piece of land to buy it, so that way he can either put a pipeline on it or underground, or put it underground or something like that. And the two end up, Mr. Bandy and Daniel end up running into one another, and Mr. Bandy eventually says, you never talked to me whenever you were buying up all the land and stuff and everything. And Mr. Bandy says, if you want my land, the only way that you're going to get it is if you're baptized, and you need to be washed in the blood of Jesus Christ.
I'll give you 3,000.
Yeah, and
I'll give you 5,000.
Yeah, and Daniel's immediate reaction is
he's like, no.
He's like, oh, I already have been. I already am. And he's like, you need to be washed. You need to be cleaned. And he's like,
pulls out the gun.
Yeah, and he looks at the horses and he says, you've sinned.
Yeah.
You need to be cleaned. And he pulls the gun out, and then he goes, I'll give you $3,000. And then the guy just kind of just staring at him, and he says, I'll give you $5,000.
He's trying to buy his way out of it.
Yeah, and he just won't answer. And then that's eventually where it cuts over to Eli, and Eli is giving a sermon, and he starts saying, we have a sinner amongst us today.
Dude.
And he says, are there any sinners amongst us who are seeking salvation? And it cuts to Daniel, and he's just kind of sitting down. He's looking at his shoes and not wanting to look at Eli.
Like, I'll say it again.
Yeah, and he's like, is there anybody here? Any sinners who are looking for salvation? And it's quiet for a little bit, and then Daniel stands up and he says, I am. And he's like, oh, good. We have a sinner amongst us who seeks salvation. He wants to be a part of Christ and all this stuff. So he goes up there, and Eli,
he's got ulterior motives, man.
Yes, he does have ulterior motives. And I think that this is arguably the greatest scene in the movie, other than the ending of the film.
No, yeah.
And I love that we get the sense that, throughout this entirety of the film, these two have been at each other's throats every time they're on screen together. And now Daniel is in Eli's territory. Mm-hmm. And Eli is free to do whatever he wants to this man in front of a crowd of people. And Eli is pulling no stops. He is making sure that everybody knows everything this guy's done. And he's doing it in a way that is like, I'm a preacher. I know what I'm saying. You're a sinner. And he starts making Daniel confess everything that he's done. and he starts putting him on blast in front of the entire congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli starts saying, like, you're a backslider. You have done this, and you have abandoned your child.
Say it.
And he starts saying, like, he's like, I need you to say that you're a sinner. You need to know that you're a sinner. Say it. And he goes, I'm a sinner.
Say it louder for the Lord.
He says, say it louder for the Lord. And he says, I'm a sinner. And he says, you have abandoned your child. Say it. And he says, I've abandoned my child.
Dude,
and you can see him start to get angry.
Yeah.
And he says, the Lord cannot hear you. You need to say it louder. And he starts getting angry. And you see Daniel start screaming, I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my child.
Dude, it's
yeah, and
it's so hard to watch because he didn't want to, but like almost had to.
Yeah, and he starts getting so angry at Eli because he's putting him on blast in front of everybody, but he wants to keep up appearances.
He's also slapping him too.
Yeah, and it's after that, like he starts everyone starts getting crazy, and he starts slapping him around, and the whole time like he's doing it, Daniel is like,
there you go.
He's like, oh, that's good, Eli, that's good.
Yeah.
yeah, and he's just like playing into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And afterwards, Eli baptizes him and runs water through his head, and everyone starts congratulating him and stuff. And one of the things that is insane to me about this scene is immediately after he gets baptized, Daniel says, "There's a pipeline."
Yep. Yeah.
And I was just like, he doesn't even care. No. He's not even actually like, yeah, he doesn't even mean like what he's saying. He's just doing it because he's like, I want that pipeline. I want what's mine.
He'll do whatever it takes.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to make sure that this guy does whatever I want, or does, he's not going to let me do it unless I do what he's asking. So I'm going to do it. I don't care like if, what I feel is real or not. Like,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm doing it because I need it for the business. And it was insane. Like, just immediately seeing there's a pipeline. I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, like you don't even care.
No.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. The power dynamic too, because at first we get to see Daniel like drag Eli through the mud, and
literally
slap him,
and slap him. And one of the things I really like about the use of slapping is when you're in a fight, punching is to hurt somebody, but slapping
it's to humiliate someone.
Yeah,
dude.
that's to humiliate someone, to dehumanize them.
Yeah.
And
there's I work in customer service, and there's days I just want to smack someone, not even punch them. I just want to put them back in reality and be like, dude.
Yeah.
And I think about the times that like we smacked each other, and I was like, bro, why'd you smack me like that? Like that's like you said, dehumanizing. Like,
yeah.
I get this. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So like whenever Daniel first does it to Eli, it's like,
oh man,
it's like he's like he's hitting a kid,
yeah.
and like he's like, oh, you did something bad, you're gonna get smacked for it, and Eli is like now getting him back, and it's one of those things where you're like, this isn't going to be good for you.
No.
Like, I know it. Like, and the whole time, like, because you're watching this turmoil through with the characters throughout the film, this thing inside of you is just like, oh, dude, like this is not good.
He's a dangerous man.
Yeah, this is dangerous for both.
Yeah.
For both people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's such good writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That mine jumps pretty much all the way to the very end.
Same.
I love the transition because HW ends up coming back from where he was sent to, and he's learning sign language from a guy.
Yeah, straight up Eli shames him into being a father again.
Yeah.
And HW comes back into Daniel's life.
Yeah. And he comes back, and the scene I wanted to talk about was when, there's a couple pro moments in between this, but it's when he links up with Mary again. And, he's doing his thing again, and Mary's just they're walking around, he jumps down and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden it cuts like a insane time jump to when you see Mary doing sign language, and she's in the dress, she's in a wedding dress, and you see him there, and you're like, let's go! Mary like took the time to learn to speak to him the way he needs, and and now they're getting married, they love each other.
And meanwhile, his own father would never do it.
Yeah.
like would never take the time to actually learn and be like, are you gonna make your little parrot flap his hands around and everything like that?
Oh,
It can't
I
just be
hate
just
this.
us. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, he never took the time. But to see that transition, I was like, this is such a good way to show both of these characters and all of the time that's passed, but we still have these distinct qualities that we know.
Yes.
Like, you still see Mary, she's got her blonde hair, and she's doing her sign language, and
Mhm.
we literally just saw him as a little kid come back and have sign language being taught to him.
Yes.
Of course, now he's fluent, and now they're getting married, and they're doing it like that. I was like, this is so genius how they're
Yes.
showing this.
Yes.
And I lead that one to the very end when HW confronts his dad in the mansion.
Yeah.
That
That whole sequence from HW confronting his dad to when Eli shows up,
yeah.
everything. Yeah, this is where the full mask is off.
Yeah, I feel so bad for HW in this moment.
Yes.
He goes and he's like spilling his heart out. He's trying to tell his dad, like, I'm going to Mexico, I'm taking Mary with me.
I need to build a life for me.
Yeah,
and my
I'm
family.
gonna start my own company, and I don't want to be your partner and lose you as a father.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to be like, Dad, just listen. This is what I want. I want you to support me for once. And he's not having it. Not having
Daniel
it at
straight
all.
up says, "Oh, you're gonna make your own company? That
That
makes
means
you
you-
a competitor
Yep.
to me."
And he goes, no, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and dude, the fact that Daniel goes, I want to hear you say it.
That's what hurts
I was
me.
like,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
That hurt me
That's the
because he
disrespect.
Yeah.
straight up said you're just gonna make your little dog do it the whole time.
Yeah. I love too. Whenever he's all, "You're just gonna keep having your dog say things." Woof 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 woof. Dude, I was loving it. Like it's
It's so
yeah.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
though.
It's
You
really
know-
good.
I
It's
mean,
good.
it's not his kid though.
Well, that's the revelation. He brings that up later, which is insane. But it's again the
it's just
character
a-
shift.
Yeah, it's just to add more insult to injury.
Yeah.
And he just, after already being like, "Oh man, like you want to be a competitor of mine? Okay. Like I'm gonna make sure I run you into the ground, even though I would call you my own son. Oh, guess what? You're not my son. You're an
You're an
orphan.
orphan.
Yeah.
I found you in a basket, and your dad was killed,
Dude, you know.
and I took care of you, and like." It was just like he's just grasping at straws to say anything he could to try to
Yeah.
hurt HW.
Dude, one of my favorite quotes, he says, "You are killing my image of you as my son." And I was like,
That's
the self-conceit.
horrible. Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. The self-conceit that you have, like, in order to be like, "Oh man, yeah, I have this image built up of you as my kid, and guess what? Because you're saying these things to me, or you're talking back to me, you're becoming your own person. Oh, you're not my kid anymore."
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, I'm always in the right." Like,
yeah,
it's
Bruh.
I'm the greatest oilman
yeah,
around.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, and then after that scene,
Yeah,
he
this
burns
is-
that entire bridge with HW.
Oh, that quote. Tell me that's not the most satisfying quote you've ever heard from HW. Where he goes, Daniel is telling him like, you're nothing like me. You have nothing like me. And then he goes, "I thank God that there's none of you in me."
yeah,
As he walks out, I was like,
yeah,
that's such a good like comeback.
yeah,
Because he's like, "You're trash. I don't even want anything like
do with you.
None of your values have been instilled in me."
Yeah,
Oh, it was so good.
yeah.
It was so good to hear that.
Yeah, and it's even kind of like to HW's advantage because as he's walking out, Daniel is screaming
He
insults.
seems
at
so
him.
desperate.
Yeah, and he's doing anything he can to try to get the last word in, but HW literally can't
Can't
hear
hear
him.
Yeah, so it's
And his interpreter is not like interpreting what he's yelling at him, and he starts to walk away, and almost feels like he gets the last word, even though Daniel is screaming at
Yeah.
him as he walks away.
it just makes him look pitiful.
exactly,
And I love that.
exactly
Because they just destroy his, well, I guess he does. He
Yeah.
destroys his own character
yeah.
throughout the whole movie. It's very gradual, and at first you don't notice it
Mhm.
until this is like right in your face.
Yeah.
He's literally disowning his own son
Yes.
and calling him a bastard in a basket. Like
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
And now this man you looked up to is now like, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with this guy. This
Exactly.
guy's trash. This guy's a piece of garbage."
Yeah.
And
And
I
then
started not to like Daniel.
and this is the thing too, like as we start to see like the real him come out at the end of the film,
Yeah.
then the last ribbon to tie it all off is Eli gets introduced back.
Eli.
And at this time, like he was gone.
Eli.
Yeah, he was gone because he went on mission and he was trying to grow the Church of the Third Revelation, and he visits Eli at the time. I think the timestamp says that it's 1927, which means that the Great Depression is in full swing. So everyone's hurting except obviously Daniel because he's
got that money.
Yeah, he's
established.
Exactly, he's a mogul, and he's the monopoly guy essentially.
Yeah, seriously,
but
he needs a monocle and
yeah,
there you go, and a top
He's
hat.
got the mustache; it just needs to be white.
Yeah,
but Eli eventually comes and visits Daniel and brings him this proposition that he's like, hey, guess what? My land that you wanted, the Bandy tract, I own it now. Mr. Bandy passed away and he left the land to me, or he left the land to his grandson, and the grandson wants to sell it
to be an actor or something like that.
He wants to be in Hollywood and he wants to be in movies. In order to do so, he needs money and he wants to sell the land to you. So this would be it. Like, you'd finally be able to own that piece of land that you've been wanting the whole time.
There's a bunch of oil there, untapped.
Yeah, and he's like, there's tons of stuff there. Like, you'll be able to finally drill there and get all the oil out that you've been needing.
Yep.
That you've been wanting this whole time. And Daniel's listening to his proposition the whole time, and it's just like, okay, yeah.
Eating his steak.
Yeah.
And like chewing it and spitting it out. Like
Yeah.
Not even swallowing it.
Yeah, he's like straight like a caveman.
Yeah.
Like, he's like grabbing it with his hands and chewing pieces and spitting certain
you can
ones
tell
out.
he's drunk too.
Yeah, and he's literally gets woken up in the middle of like a private bowling alley.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli, comes up to him and shakes him and is trying to wake him up, and he's all,
Eli,
the house is on fire. And it finally wakes him up. He brings him this whole proposition, and then Daniel starts to say, okay, like, I'll buy that land, but I have one condition that I'll buy the land for. I want you to tell me that you're a false prophet. And Daniel Eli at first is like, I can't say it. It's a lie. Like, I'm not a false prophet. And he says, you tell me that you're a false prophet and that God is a superstition, and I will buy that land from you for like $100,000 or something, however much you're wanting. And Eli is just kind of like thinking about it, and is like, oh, okay. And then a little bit of time passes, and Eli does what he says.
Says it quietly.
He says, I'm a false prophet.
Oh,
and
the roles again are reversed.
Yeah, and that's whenever again we start
it's like
to see
the baptism scene all over again.
And now Daniel's got the foot up on Eli, and he's like, he says it. He's like, I'm a false prophet, and then Daniel's like, and then he goes on to continue saying what he's saying, and he goes, he's like, say it like you're in a sermon, like you've got the whole congregation out here, and you need to hear them. You need them to hear you. Say it like that. And he keeps making him say it, makes him say it louder and louder until he starts to really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't believe you're feeling it enough. You need to feel it. Make sure the people in the back can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps going, I am a false prophet. And he just keeps doing it. And after like he gets really enveloped and in the act and stuff and everything, Daniel stops him and says, that land has been had, Eli.
Mm-hmm.
The land is gone. It's drained. There's no more oil there. And Eli is like, what do you mean? You never bought it? And he says, there's no.
What do they call those things again?
He's like, there's no derrick.
Yeah.
There's no derrick on the land. There's no possible way you could have gotten the oil out.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, there's a thing called drainage, and I have essentially like sucked that land dry.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to put a derrick on
He
there.
owns everything around
I owned
it.
everything around it, and so all that oil under the land, I didn't even need to put one on there because I own everything around it. It drains out into my other derricks.
Mm-hmm.
So that land is useless to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in here with this proposition, I don't even need it.
No,
You
got him to
need me.
completely renounce his faith.
Yeah, and he
for nothing.
Yeah, and it's insane that he gets him to do so.
Yeah.
And then after he does it, is like, I don't want it. I already got it. You're useless to me.
He just destroyed him.
Yeah, and Eli starts crying, and he's like, I'm in desperate times. Like, I need it. Everyone is hurting right now. And that's where like Daniel starts to just destroy him even more.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts telling him, like, he was like, I don't believe it. I believe that you're the false prophet. But Paul, your brother, he's the prophet.
Yeah.
He's the smart one. He came to me and he told me that there was oil on your land, and he did it for $500. And he was the smart one. He's the guy that got out. Now guess what? He has his own oil business, and he's bringing in $5,000 a week,
Yep.
more than you're ever doing. And now look at you. You're hurting. You come to me, and you're wanting $100,000 for this piece of land that I've already drained dry.
Dude.
And Eli starts crying and is just like, please, please, I need help. And Daniel the whole time is just in his face and screaming, drainage!
Yeah.
I've drained it dry. It's gone.
Yep.
And he, like, to add insult to injury, is just like, I've drank all your water. I've drank it all up. It's gone. You have nothing. You're nothing to me. And he, starts giving this illusion. He's like, let's say this. If I have a milkshake, and if you have a milkshake, and my straw goes all the way across the room and dips into your milkshake, I drank your milkshake. And he goes,
He's unhinged, dude.
yeah, and just it's going insane. And Eli just starts being like, why do you have to bully me? This is insane. You're insane. And Eli starts to get up and to walk away. And that's whenever I think Daniel picks him up and throws him into the bowling alley.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole fight breaks out. And Eli starts running away like a little rat. And
I'm
is
your
like,
friend. I'm your only friend.
yeah. And he's like, we're brothers by marriage.
Yeah.
Literally, like your son married my sister. Like we're bound by marriage. You can't do this. Like, don't hurt me, please. And it eventually leads to Daniel killing Eli.
Yeah.
Beating him over the head with a
Brutal,
bowling pin.
dude.
And yeah, and he beats him over the head with a bowling pin, and like smashes his head in essentially.
Yeah. Dude, tell me how sick that scene was when he had the bowling balls and he's like literally bowling towards him.
And I love when he hits the mop water and it sprays on the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sick.
It's cool.
But the whole time, like, he is defiling Eli's name, and he keeps saying, I am the prophet. I am the third revelation. And, yeah, eventually kills him.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he kills him, the butler comes downstairs after he hears all this noise.
Finished.
And he's like, Mr. Plainview? And you just see this shot of, like, Daniel sitting down, catching his breath, and this body, like, bludgeoned, blood everywhere. And, like, all this stuff just, awry. And Daniel's just sitting there, and he kind of looks back and says, I'm finished.
And that's it.
And then music comes in, and he's still sitting there, and then it cuts to black, and then title goes across the screen.
There will be blood.
Yeah, I can't tell you the first time I watched that movie, when I saw the cut to black and then the screen pop up, There Will Be Blood, and
You said,
the whole time it's all yeah, I got up on my seat and I was just like, that was amazing. I loved this. Why didn't I watch it sooner? And that's when I text you guys immediately after the first time. And I think I still had the same reaction. Like when I watched it the second time, I was just like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
I was smiling from ear to ear when it finished. And I gotta say, I love everything about it.
Me too.
So
It was a great ending.
yeah, I have to say too, like I'm convinced with that ending alone that's what won Daniel Day-Lewis the Oscar for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Just in that ending sequence alone. Yeah. But other than that, if we have no other favorite scenes, let's get into some best quotes.
Okay, I'll go. I'll start with mine. It's a scene, or it's a quote from Daniel, and I just like it because he seems so put together, but also so intimidating. It's when Paul comes and he's telling him the information, and he goes, "Listen, Paul, if I travel all the way up there and find that you've been lying to me, I'm going to find you, and I'm going to take more than my money back. Is that all right with you?"
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason, just asking of that question, "Is that all right with you?" just makes it feel like I'm in total control.
Yeah.
And I will.
You better not be lying to me.
Yeah, I will find you and I will get you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Felt like. I was like, oh, this guy is intimidating. I love this.
Yeah. And the fact that he makes him agree
Yeah.
to it is like even scarier.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. My first one is from a conversation that Daniel has with his brother, Henry, which we didn't even talk about, which
No.
I'm sure we will get into with the bro moments.
That's, gosh.
But he has a quote, this whole monologue thing, where Daniel and
I
him are
barely
drinking.
like people.
Yeah, and Daniel says something to the effect of, I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And he goes on to say, like, I hate people. Like, I hate everybody. I don't want them to succeed. I want to see them suffer, essentially. And it just shows how narcissistic Daniel is, and just how much of a sociopath this guy is, really. Like, he truly has no regard for anybody else but himself. and wants to make sure that he's set up more than anybody else and that no one else can do what he does.
Other than that, I think I've said the rest of mine. Oh, there's one at the very, very end when he's talking to Eli and he's like completely destroying him. He says, you're just the afterbirth.
That's so disrespectful, bro.
That's so demeaning.
Yeah.
Whenever he said that, I was like, dude,
You're just the afterbirth, Eli.
of Paul.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no recovery from that. Like you're just
Yeah.
leave, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Walk away with some dignity, bro.
seriously, there's no way you can come back from that.
Yeah.
Oh, when I heard that,
Yeah.
And then
Obviously.
drainage.
Yeah.
The other one.
Another one is, I drink your milkshake.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear that, I'm thinking immediately of There Will Be Blood. But my last one is from the oil rig burning scene. And it's whenever Daniel says something to Fletcher. And he says, what are you looking so miserable about? And I think this quote encapsulates the entirety of the movie.
Yep.
He says, what are you looking so miserable about? There's a whole ocean of oil under our feet. No one can get to it except for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that quote encapsulates the movie. So, but other than that, that's it for me.
Yeah, me as well.
Well, now I'm pretty sure we'll have a big chunk here as well because we are getting into bro moments.
Yeah.
My first one is Daniel falling down the hole and breaking his leg.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I said falling off the ladder.
Yeah.
And like crawling his way back.
Yeah.
Dude.
Dude, you got it.
Oh.
One of the things that I was amazed by was Daniel Day-Lewis had to do that. He had to keep his leg straight and act like it's broken
Yeah.
and crawl on these rocks
It
and
looked
like climb up a
terrible.
ladder and like make believe that it's broken.
Mhm.
I don't think I could do that.
No.
Like imagine trying to like
That's trying to
caterpillar
like.
on your back, keep one leg straight the whole time and don't move your leg.
I do this stupid. Like it's stupid, but like when I try to walk without bending my knees.
Okay.
That's almost what I feel like it
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
Full
yeah, for
commitment.
sure.
Yeah, full commitment. This is,
Yeah.
You look like
It was a
fool,
huge bro moment.
but yeah.
dude. And then I said, bro, getting hit in the hole when, they're pulling up that.
HW's father
Yes.
getting hit. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Then
him dying.
seeing him put the little like he has a milk bottle and he puts the alcohol.
Oh,
on the
that's
nipple.
another
Yeah.
bro
I
moment.
was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, and
It just knocks him out.
yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's not good.
Yeah. I also too I love Daniel Day-Lewis's body language in the scene because like he looks so defeated
Yeah.
and he's just kind of like hunched over trying to get him to take the bottle, and it's almost like he's looking at him like, what are you crying about? Stop. Like I want you to stop. And he just looks like a guy like at his end and is just like, I have to take care of this freaking kid now. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Another bro moment for me is we've talked about Joe Gunda dying in the hole. We talked about HW getting blown back, as well as not this one. So there's a certain point in the film where a man gets introduced. His name is Henry, and he says that he is Daniel's brother from another mother.
Literally.
He literally said,
He says your brother
From another mother.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry comes into Daniel's life, and he starts to become pretty integral to not only Daniel but also the business. And Daniel starts bringing Henry around a lot and involving him in a lot of things. And there's a point in the film where Daniel and Henry are out and HW's left in the home, and he gets curious and starts going through Henry's bag, and he finds out there's like a diary here, and he starts flipping through it, and we see like there's a specific shot of like a diagram of like a shotgun, and we're kind of like, on my first watch I was like, is he trying to like kill somebody, or like is he trying to kill Daniel or something? I don't know exactly
I
what's
didn't
going
know.
on. And all of a sudden we cut back to there's another scene that gets brought in. It's nighttime, everyone's sleeping, and we see HW playing with matches, and then he puts it down. This man straight up lit a gas trail up to Henry's bed and was trying to set him on fire. Was trying to kill.
You could have done it better.
Yeah, trying to kill Henry. And I don't know about you guys, but on a first watch, I was like, "This kid's crazy."
Yeah, I did.
Like,
I
I
thought
was
he
like,
was
what is he
insane.
doing?
Yeah, like I was like, he's trying to burn the house down and kill his brother. Like, what's going on?
Little
Why?
did we know he wasn't.
Yeah, and that's another huge bro moment for me after not only Daniel abandoning HW because of this, but finding out that Henry's not even Daniel's brother.
No. Oh
They-
my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about this.
Yes.
And when he straight up said all that, like when he was like,
Yes.
"Who are you?"
No, and this is what I have to say I really love is the moment of realization at the beach. When they're swimming at the beach, they've been like tracking where they're going to put this pipeline the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to the beach, they're having this moment where they're like, "Oh man, you remember that house on the hill? Man, I always wanted that house. I always thought it looked pretty."
Is
and
he just
stuff.
lying?
Yeah, I think he's just BSing with him.
Yeah, he's just trying to continue to keep it the lie. And Daniel is like reminiscing about something that he truly remembers. And meanwhile, this guy is trying to act like Henry, and is not. He's pulling from memories that he has no idea about.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel hits him with something, and he says, "We should go out on the town and have some drinks and take some girls to the Peachtree dance or do the Peachtree dance." And Henry's just kind of like, "Yeah." Like not knowing what he's saying, and then Daniel repeats himself and says, "I said we should take some girls and go, do the
Get
Peachtree
liquored up.
dance, get
Yeah.
liquored up and do the Peachtree dance." And Daniel just kind of is just like, or Henry is just kind of like shaking his head, and
Puts his head down.
that's when we get this really long take
Mm-hmm.
of Daniel kind of like
Hmm.
looking around and thinking. You can tell he's like,
Something's not right here.
something's off. And he gets up, he goes in the ocean, and you get this shot of Daniel in the water looking like a shark, I think.
Mhm.
And he kind of just looks at him, and he's just kind of like angry, like his brows are furrowed. He's looking down, and he's just kind of like, "I can't believe, like, I might be getting got right now." And then it cuts to the next scene, and Daniel's pissed. He's like sitting in a bar. There's people laughing and dancing and stuff and everything. And Henry comes up to him, obviously drunk,
Let me get
is
some money.
laughing, and he keeps going, "Give me some money. Can I get some cash? Give me some money, please." And the whole time Daniel's just like not saying a word. He's pissed. And he gives him some cash, and eventually they go back to their camping spot, and Henry wakes up with a gun in his face. And is just like, "Tell me more about that hill in the house."
Mm-hmm.
And Henry's kind of like, what are you saying? I don't even know what you're talking about." And he said, "What color was the hill? Was the house on the hill? Tell me what color it was." And
He gets called out.
he gets caught up, and he says, "Are you even my brother?" And
I'm just a nobody.
yeah, and he says, "I'm a nobody. Like I knew your brother. I met him in King City or something like that. He died of tuberculosis." And so we find out this whole time that Henry has
He's
been
playing him.
playing Daniel for his money. He found out that this guy's successful, and he wants in on it. He wants a piece of that success. And so he starts playing as Daniel's actual brother.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, the way he kills him too, like putting his hand on him and going blink,
Yeah.
like is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also coming to the realization that Henry was trying, HW was trying to save Henry because he read in his diary. We get a specific shot of Daniel looking through Henry's actual diary and finding out like that his actual brother passed away and that this guy's been playing him. And then him also coming to the realization that he sent HW away because he tried
Because
to
of
kill his
that.
brother.
Yeah.
And then finding out that this guy's not his brother and that HW was trying to protect him. That was a big bro moment for me to find
Yeah.
out. I was like, dude, he literally sent him away
For nothing.
for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing. And HW was literally trying to protect him. and he sent
In
him away
such a very
for it.
strange way.
Yes.
He couldn't talk, so I understood. But like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a huge bro moment for me.
yeah, straight up kills him, buries him.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Henry.
Yeah.
That
Seriously.
was a massive bro moment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my last bro moment that we have already talked about was Daniel flipping on HW
Yeah.
Yeah.
and showing his cards for real.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have any other bro moments?
We talked about all mine,
Yeah,
actually.
mine too.
Okay. Well, if that's it for the bro moments, let's get into some facts.
Yeah, let me hit you with the budget. And to make this movie, it took about $25 million to make. Opening weekend, they made $190,739. For gross, the U.S. and Canada made $40.2 million. And gross worldwide made $76.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it doubled its money.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Isn't this one of his most profitable movies that he's made?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is a fact, actually. I read it, but I didn't know if any of you guys wrote it down, so I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I had read that it was, I believe it's his highest grossing film.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah.
I actually have, in regards to a couple of the well, I've kind of already talked about it, but this movie was nominated for tons of Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
and went head to head with a movie that we've done previously on the podcast called No Country for Old Men. And they battled it out, really, at the Oscars that year. And this was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, like all the big stuff. It ended up winning the best Oscar for Best Actor. Daniel Day-Lewis took that home. And then also the Oscar for Best Cinematography. Meanwhile, No Country for Old Men would go on to win Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem.
Best Adapted,
Best
right?
Adapted Screenplay, Best Picture of the Year, Best Directing. Like, it won big
The rest,
that year.
yeah, pretty much the rest.
And yeah, I can definitely see why Daniel Day-Lewis won the Oscar for Best Actor for this film.
Yeah, seriously.
He's incredible in it.
One thing I was interested of was Paul Dano and his character as both Paul and Eli. Initially, he had been cast to play only Eli, the smaller role, and not to do the rest. There's going to be a different character for Paul. However, when they were doing it, Paul Thomas Anderson decided to replace the actor and use Paul Dano as both. So he only had 4 days to get both the smaller role of Eli, or the smaller role of Paul, and the larger role of Eli down to a T before they started filming.
Yeah.
Whereas Daniel Day-Lewis had like years to prepare for his role.
I have it written down here. Daniel Day-Lewis had 3 years to prepare for his role.
That's
compared to
crazy.
4 days.
Compared to Paul.
And Eli is a massive character here.
Yes.
And he plays it perfectly.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I had seen where it kind of blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Just the acting chops that Paul Dano has, and for him to be able to pull out what he did in a matter of 4 days versus a guy like Daniel Day-Lewis who had years to prepare is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'd actually, while I was rewatching some specific scenes on YouTube, I was going through comments, and it was at the time where Paul Dano was announced that he was going to play the Riddler for the Batman. And everyone was like in the comments saying like, if this guy on screen that we're watching the YouTube video on right now is going to play the Riddler, I know we're going to get like a great performance. And
ended up being awesome.
It ended up being awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his take on
I
the
do
Riddler
gotta
too.
say, Paul Dano does play like a good villain.
Oh yeah,
He
he
plays
definitely he definitely has an archetype.
He played like a creep kind of.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
like,
Because I think
not
about
like
him,
a creep. That
no,
sounds
a creep is a
mean,
good
but
word
it's
because you think about him in the movie Prisoners, he's a full-on creep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that he kind of scares me. Like Paul Dano scares me.
He's a great actor.
He's
man.
a
Like,
great
I-
actor, but he always plays these roles where it's just like, you're
But they
weird.
fit-
You're weird, bro.
They fit him so perfectly.
They do fit him perfectly. He's awesome.
And I think that's what scares me. Is like, dude, you got this down,
Yeah.
like down to the T where it's scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's why I mentioned it before we started recording. I was like, dude, I don't like Paul Dano. He scares me.
Yeah. So a couple of things actually I have written down. One of them I found really interesting in regards to No Country for Old Men. It was actually being filmed on the same location as There Will Be Blood at the same time. So while they were both
Imagine
shot, so
it's the same universe.
it's canon.
Oh.
So
Your eyes open up.
So they were both shot in Marfa, Texas, in the same year, and like I said, No Country for Old Men was the neighboring film production at the time. One day, Paul Thomas Anderson and his crew tested the pyrotechnical effects of the oil derrick fire, causing an enormous billowing of smoke. And it actually intruded on a shot that Joel Coen and Ethan Coen were shooting that day. It actually caused them to delay filming until the next day, until the smoke dissipated. Both this film and No Country for Old Men would eventually become the leading contenders at the Academy Awards a year and a half later.
Yeah.
That's so insane.
That's- To stop filming. That's crazy.
Yeah.
For a day. I mean,
Push a whole day of filming back.
It's a whole day, which
Yeah.
is not bad, but it's also like, dang, that's a whole day of filming that you could have gotten done a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just how it is.
Actually, another one that I have in regards to the production of the film, or just the actors involved in the film. The kid that plays HW, his name is Dylan Frazier, I believe, and he's not an actor, or he wasn't. He wasn't at the time. He was actually an elementary student that was near the shooting location at the time. And on the radio program titled Fresh Air with Terry Gross, Paul Thomas Anderson had told the host that when the production was trying to convince Dylan's mother to allow him to be in the movie, his mother wanted to figure out who Daniel Day-Lewis was. So she went and rented a copy of a film that he's in by Martin Scorsese called Gangs of New York, in which Daniel Day-Lewis plays a murderous gang leader nicknamed the Butcher.
Great.
And when she watched the film, she panicked at the idea of her son spending so much time with this guy that she saw in the movie. So the There Will Be Blood the There Will Be Blood casting department went to her house and rushed her a copy of a film he was in called The Age of Innocence, where Daniel Day-Lewis plays a civilized and gentle person. to show that he has a different side.
He's more than just the butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine being a mom and be like, this is the guy that's supposed to be your father? Like,
Yeah.
Heck no.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Speaking of HW, the adult version that they got, he's actually deaf.
That's awesome.
They got a real deaf character
That's good.
to play it. I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
This is
For
awesome.
sure.
One thing that I have is that, so every Wednesday night, I believe, during editing, Paul Thomas Anderson and the company would just have steak and straight vodka for dinner. To keep the same mentality that Daniel Plainview had.
Caveman,
Yeah.
dude. Caveman.
Imagine.
Yeah. That's like manly man
It
stuff. Where
is.
it's just like meat and whiskey.
Yeah, I would say
like,
I would say
no,
whiskey better than vodka, but
no utensils either.
Yeah.
Just
Just
grab
eating
the
it with
steak.
your hand and just tearing at it.
Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah, another one I have here in regards to the infamous "I drink your milkshake" is in part a real quote.
Really?
Yeah, so Paul Thomas Anderson had found the metaphor in Congressive transcripts from the 1920s Teapot Dome scandal, which really happened, in which the Secretary of the Interior, Albert Fall, was convicted of accepting bribes for oil drilling rights to various lands. According to PTA, I think it was Albert Fall, this is a quote from him, quote, I think it was Albert Fall who was asked to describe drainage before Congress. And his way of describing it was, if you have a milkshake and I have a milkshake and my straw reaches across the room, I'm sure I embellished it and changed it around and made it more plain view, but Fall used the word milkshake, and I thought it was so great. It was mad to see that word among all this official testimony and terminology.
Yeah, true.
A freaking milkshake. I got so happy every time I hear the word.
Milkshake.
Yeah.
It's true. You wouldn't think that would be. You could find its way in a screenplay like this.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. In regards to the screenplay, I think it just highlights his character so well. It's in the screenplay, Daniel says "I love you" to HW often. I mean, he says it quite often, but in the finished film, he never does.
Yeah. There's another thing too, actually, in regards to Daniel's character that was taken out. The script originally ended with Plainview bludgeoning Eli to death with a tumbler instead of a bowling pin.
Really?
And then throwing his body through the bowling pins into a cellar behind it. Once they were on set, it was changed to the slightly less graphic version that we see today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I even
yeah,
read too that he wanted to paint the bowling alley
Yeah.
completely white.
I have it right here.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So originally, that's what I was about to say. Was Paul Thomas Anderson wanted the bowling alley at the end of the film to be painted white, drawing the inspiration from Stanley Kubrick. Cinematographer Robert Elswit convinced him to change his mind in order to allow more creative and dramatic lighting.
Nice.
That's crazy.
But imagine if it was all white. The way that he was hitting him, the
Oh, yeah,
blood
you just see
splattering
blood
everywhere.
That would be pretty.
It would be sick.
Yeah.
I think it would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the way that they did it.
I think they gave it away, didn't they? Or they gave. So there's a reason why they also didn't do it, where like they gave something away.
Yeah,
or
they ended up
donated
like,
it or something.
Yeah, they ended up donating the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Like so that someone could actually use it, something like that. I forget. Another two that I have here, in regards to Daniel Day-Lewis accepting the role for this movie, he'd actually decided to accept it after he had seen Punch Drunk Love.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was such a fan of that movie that once he had seen it, he knew that he wanted to work with Paul Thomas Anderson. The producer on the film, Joanne Seller, had said that the film might not have ever been made had Paul Thomas Anderson declined the role.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder who would have taken the role.
I don't think anybody could have.
Well, what about this fact? This is the first film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson to not feature Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes, that is true.
What about Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Daniel?
I'm trying to think
I don't know.
Philip Seymour.
You know him. I love him.
You know Philip Seymour Hoffman.
love
you know
him.
his face. Once you
know
see him, you're gonna be like, oh.
in Punch Drunk Love, he was the guy. He was the
goes,
the furniture
Shut
guy.
up! Shut up!
You know him. You know him. And he might have been able to play a good
I think
Daniel Plainview.
That's possible. I've seen Paul Thomas Anderson's movie called The Master.
Yes.
That Philip Seymour Hoffman plays a huge role in alongside Joaquin Phoenix, and he almost plays like a kind of like cult leader-ish vibe in that movie. I don't know. It would have been interesting.
I don't know. Actually, I know who he is, but I don't know if he can play a good Daniel.
He doesn't have the facial hair for it, but
He was GOAT.
yeah.
Regardless, rest in peace to Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm reading that he passed away.
In regards to things that are going to kill you early, my last quote is from my last fact here is from Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's in regards to McDonald's.
Interesting.
And that's what's going to kill you early. If you eat too much McDonald's,
Oh, that's
you're going to die early.
Supersize me, dude.
So,
yeah.
so Paul Thomas Anderson had told a entertainment magazine that the fake oil used throughout the film included the stuff that they put in chocolate milkshakes at McDonald's.
Yum.
Appetizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that's wild.
yeah, but that's it for the facts that I've got written
Me
down
too.
here.
So sticky.
Yeah.
Oh,
So sticky.
What is so sticky?
the stuff that they put inside the
Oh.
milkshake.
Oh, okay.
What?
It was just I didn't
just like
I
out
thought
of context?
Yeah, I thought it was out of context, so you're just all so sticky. I was all,
No.
what is, dude?
I don't even want to know, AB. Oh,
All
what's
right.
next?
Man.
What do we got next, man?
What didn't work?
What didn't work?
I
I
got
don't
nothing.
know.
I only have a little thing, and Alexa had brought it up to me before I even watched the movie, and she didn't tell me what part or anything. She had said that there was a part where for her that was kind of slow, and I was like, okay. So I watched the movie, and then thinking about it, I brought it up without telling her that I finished the movie, and it's right when HW gets death. That for like 10 minutes it was kind of slow. Cause I was just like, okay, I want something to happen. It was just Daniel taking care of HW. Nothing else was really happening. They were just trying to figure out how to communicate.
Yeah.
But I wish it
Like
was
the
just,
whole scene when like he makes the doctor come in, they like straight
Yeah, yeah.
manhandle him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
they're
was-
like jamming
Yeah.
it into his
or
ears.
like when he's like, when HW's like,
yeah,
like
Yeah.
trying to, you can't
Trying
hear
to hear.
himself, and he keeps going, "That's enough now, stop."
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't know, and that just seemed because this whole movie is just go go go,
Mhm.
which is really good. But that at that part, it was just like, man, I want more. I don't want just this. So that was the only thing I noticed for me.
I think that it's included just to show not only Daniel's impatience with HW, but also his like unwillingness to learn, and for him to just be like, "Well, when the hell are you gonna get better?" You know, and like
Like, how
even-
do you get better?
Yeah, and like even going
dude.
as far to take it out on Eli,
Yeah.
where he's like, "You're supposed to be some healer. Why don't you heal my kid?" And keeps like slapping him and messing him around in the mud and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't really think of a thing
Yeah,
to put down here.
yeah. I didn't write anything down. Everything I think works in this film. If I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Like I walk away from it and I'm like, man, I don't use the word often because I feel like it gets really overused, but I would call it a masterpiece. Like everything works here for me.
Yeah, I split it up in 2 watch sessions, and I feel like I've lost nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it even enhanced the film for me.
Mm.
For some reason, I was able to, like, I paused it at a really good time, and right when I went back into it the next day, I was like, I'm right back in it. This is great. I love
Yeah.
this. Like, there was, like, no downtime. I enjoyed doing it the way I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to leave it blank. I got nothing. I was just going to riff off you guys, but if we're all good here.
Okay. Well, what did work then?
Immediately the soundtrack. That's the first thing
Yes.
I noticed. I absolutely loved it. And I wrote that it reminds me of The Shining,
Mm-hmm.
and that it just elicits these interesting emotions. And it's like it could be action, it could be nothing, but it's this like insanely interesting, like dynamic music, the strings that are going on. I'm just like, I'm feeling the emotions. Like I'm feeling it completely right
Yeah.
here. Like I was genuinely feeling like I was going insane sometimes. Just like the characters on the screen where I was like,
Yeah.
the soundtrack here is helping me feel this way.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I have to agree too. I love the score to the film. Like there are moments where it feels like a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
and there are moments where it feels like I'm watching Punch Drunk Love again for the first time, and I'm just getting like assaulted with like all this insane stuff that's happening on screen, accompanied with this like hyper jittery, all these violins and cellos and woodwind instruments and all this stuff just going on all at the same time.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. I also do have to say I think the writing and the pacing is phenomenal.
Writing is
in this
incredible.
film. Like
impeccable.
Like there was a quote actually that I really liked by Paul Thomas Anderson in an interview around this kind of like tabletop interview discussion that happened whenever the film was doing their like press tour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was both him and Daniel Day-Lewis on this interview with another person. And he's been on it before. I've watched actually him do the same thing with Adam Sandler when they did the same kind of press tour for Punch Drunk Love. And Paul Thomas Anderson had said that, at the end of the day, I'm probably butchering this quote, but he says like at the end of the day, all there is writing. And if you have really good writing, directing comes easy.
Mm.
And I think he hits it out of the park here.
Mm-hmm.
The writing here is phenomenal. The pacing to the movie is phenomenal, despite the runtime. It doesn't feel like it's a 2.5 hour movie to me when I'm watching it.
Mm-mm.
No, the runtime wasn't bad at all. When yesterday you guys were watching it, I think it was pretty late, and I was like, "You guys are still watching?" And you said it's a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy cow! I didn't expect it to be that long." And when I watched it today, I didn't. It went by quick.
Yeah.
So it was, and I think it's because it was just jam packed with so much things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I truly did enjoy. That I didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just nothing but pacing right there.
Yeah.
The rollout of information I think is incredible.
Definitely.
I do think this movie is highly rewatchable.
I do too.
I mentioned it to you guys. I kind of want to rewatch it again just because I feel like I missed some things,
Oh yeah.
and I can learn a lot more on my second watch.
Oh, for sure.
And
I think it's a lot more rewarding on a
Mhm.
rewatch. Like watching it again, knowing everything that goes on, and like fully examining the type of character that Daniel is, and like watching it from the start and then being like, this guy's been a snake the whole
Yeah.
time, and at first your brain doesn't allow you to see it because you want to root for the guy, but then you go in to the movie with a whole different viewpoint, and you're like, dude, you're playing these guys,
He's
man.
trash.
Yeah, and from the jump you've been doing it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I get 100%.
I also have to say, like, I think this movie has some of the best acting I think I've seen put the film. Like, with knockout performances from Daniel Day-Lewis as well as Paul Dano. Like there are points I think too where like Paul Dano somewhat like steals the screen
Really?
from Daniel Day-Lewis at some points.
Mm.
Like he kind of blew me away. Like I get so excited thinking about where both of their careers are gonna lead, and like what they'll continue to do, and if they'll ever top it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited.
Yeah, that took the words out of my mouth, man.
All right.
Acting is incredible.
Yeah. Other than that, I think the cinematography is beautiful. Framing is awesome. I really love. It almost feels like they use a really like. I want to say like a telephoto lens is what it's called in the camera world, and what that means is it's like a very fixed zoom lens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lens that you can put on and it be like a 50 millimeter lens or an 80 millimeter lens. So it's like insanely close, but so everything feels almost like claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way that things are framed. Like people are like in shots and like, the film will be like this and the person is like perfectly in the frame. And like there will be certain ways where like the camera will like reveal certain things and there will be like a person in the frame and then it will continue to like reveal what's above the frame or what's below the ground or just anything like that. I also really love the coloring of the film.
Yeah.
It's in a movie that is set in the desert, there's not much color, but when color is presented, it's used so effectively,
Ooh.
and it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it really stays true to its time period as well.
Yes.
Like these people feel like they're just like in the olden times,
Yeah.
having to rough it through this like tumultuous world.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think they did a good job at staying true to the time zone.
Yeah, for sure.
The set pieces fit along with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think other than that,
I think we hit most of them. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if that's it for what did work, who wins the movie?
Daniel Day-Lewis,
Same.
Yeah. I put
easiest
Daniel.
of all time.
I can't put Paul because he creeps me out. So
Yeah. He kills it. He would definitely wins for me as
Yeah.
well. Any themes here?
I put a lust for power.
Okay. I put down greed and capitalism.
Yeah, for sure.
I put greed doesn't lead to a good life.
Yeah.
No way.
Okay.
That's
It's interesting coming from the businessman over here.
Yeah, but this is
I'm just joking.
no,
Consistency,
and
bro.
no. I found myself finding ways to try to defend Daniels.
Yeah, and I think
that
that's
is
a testament to the great writing.
yeah. They want you to do.
They
that.
want you to.
Because there's times where I'm like, good, this is his land, this is his business, let him do what he's gonna do. Who cares about you? You're just a person living on there.
Yeah.
Let the man do what he's gonna do. It's his business.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, bro, you're an a-hole.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
trash.
Why? Like, why would you do this? But I found myself a lot trying to defend him.
Yeah.
And then finally, at the end, when he has that altercation with his son, with
Mhm.
HW, I was like, dude, you're trash.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, I can't support you anymore.
Yeah,
There's no way I
it's-
can.
It's that entire sequence of events. I think one of the things that's the most chilling about his character is his final words of "I'm finished."
Mm-hmm.
And it just, to me, it implies that this is something that he's done to other people.
Oh, plenty, I'm sure.
And it made me think of what he said to the Standard Oil guy when he
Oh, he
said
said,
that
"I'm
you
gonna-"
told me how to raise my kid. I ought to cut your throat, or like I think I'm gonna cut your throat, like whenever I see you, or something like that. And then you getting that scene whenever he starts to humiliating the guy in front of his Standard Oil buddies, and goes up to him and says, "Remember, you told me how to raise my kid. I told you what I would do to you." And then he walks away.
He's dangerous.
And like it just makes me believe, just hearing those final words of
Yeah.
"I'm finished"
It's like, oh,
was like, he's done this to other people,
Yeah.
and he's not going to get caught.
Yeah.
Like he's going to continue to get away with this stuff because of how rich he is and
So-
how powerful this guy is. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I tried defending him, but I
Yeah.
couldn't. This is a person I couldn't defend.
All right. Well, if that's it for the themes, what are we rating this?
I gave it an 8.
Okay.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I want to watch it again. But I don't think there's people who would watch it solely because of the runtime and how fast-paced it is. But I do think a lot of people should watch it, and that's why I give it an 8.
I'm giving this one a 9.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. Not a 10 for me, but I really, really enjoyed everything this movie had to offer.
Okay. I'm giving it a 10.
I figured you would.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this movie. I love everything that it has to offer. I'd recommend it to anybody. And I know that it definitely will fall on like I guess that's not necessarily the right thing to say. But I definitely know that this is not a movie for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's for certain people, so you definitely have to know your audience when recommending something. But I don't think I would ever not recommend this movie to somebody if they haven't seen it. It's an amazing film, I think, from start to finish. So
All right, man. 10. It's
Yep.
been a while.
yeah, it's been a while since I've talked about it.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. But yeah, that's the end of the
That's
episode, you guys. So if you stuck all the way to the end, we do appreciate it. As usual, leave us the rate and reviews on the audio platforms. It does help us. It lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing, or if we need to change something up, and it gives credence to the episodes and to people who have yet to check us out, and lets us know that actual people are listening to us, and that we have something of value to say and talk about. You can also leave us likes and comments on the YouTube videos, as well as hitting that subscribe button and hitting the the bell notifications to be notified whenever we upload. And if you want to get in contact with us or anything like that, every method of contact that we have is in all of our episode descriptions on every platform. You'll find our Instagram links as well as our email and stuff like that. And we also have a TikTok page too, which I think I need to start adding to the description. I don't know if I've ever added it, but we've got a TikTok page there too that we post like clips and stuff and everything. So if you're a person that wants your content in like
short
little
form.
1 minute clips or something like that, and you can go there and check that out as well. But yeah, other than that, I think we're gonna go ahead and head over to what Nick is picking for next week.
Yes, I am picking 1979 film Alien.
Okay,
I have never watched this.
this is an iconic one.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's pretty much debut, right?
Yes. Maybe I'm not.
She
I'm
might
not
have.
entirely
Yeah,
sure.
I'll do some research for next week. But I bought this quite a while ago from Rasputin's, and I have been meaning to watch it. I've heard that it's like some of the most iconic sci-fi horror / thriller / action movies that there is.
Yep.
And I mean, Alien. That's like it's Alien.
Yeah.
We just watched Prey not too long ago, so it's like I'm ready to dive back in and how just the sci-fi event started.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing but good things. I mean, it's something that I need to have watched.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to do it.
Yeah.
I know you've seen it, right?
Yeah, and I love it. And this is a film too where you look at its age, and because of like the practical effects that are used, the set building, like the entire like universe that gets built up in just this one movie, and then will later get expanded on.
Aliens.
Yeah, like it's so ripe.
Aliens?
Like
it's literally Alien and Aliens.
is the second one. But,
Directed by someone else, right?
I think so. But like it's awesome, and like I've always heard that this and Blade Runner are like the quintessential sci-fi film. Like they are the films that would go on to, influence so many other sci-fi films, and not only sci-fi films, like horror films and thriller films and action movies and stuff like that and everything. Like they're just.
It's got to be the most iconic alien design ever.
Yeah.
You have that like long head,
Xenomorph.
the xenomorph little freaking mouth coming out. That's so iconic.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it started.
Yeah.
Aliens is directed by James Cameron.
James Cameron.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do.
He's a big name. He's directed.
Oh, he did Avatar.
Yes.
He wrote Avatar.
He's also done Titanic.
Did he?
James
Yes.
Cameron. He's
He's done
Terminator.
He's done a lot of work.
classic.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah. So is Alien streaming anywhere?
Unfortunately, it's not. I checked it. It is on Stars. And I never recognized that as a streaming platform.
Yeah, me either.
For some reason, I just think it's more of like you add it onto your
movie
cable
channel.
package.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude.
I never think to bring it up, but if you do have Stars, it's there.
Yeah.
Other than that, you'll have to rent it or go and buy it from a store. But
Okay.
hopefully it'll be worth it.
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, I think this is one of those movies like you
I
can
should
put
always-
on. You can like put on at a party or something like that, and everyone would be like, "Oh, I know this. I know that Alien," and like it's something that like you can put on and really be intrigued by, but also like everyone could tune out at some point or tune back in and love it.
And that's and I should start to check YouTube more because YouTube does have free content out there.
Yes.
Like I literally just searched Alien. Oh no, this is Aliens.
Okay.
Well, maybe I can do.
Dang, is that
Yeah,
almost,
people will straight up
that's
like,
almost a 3-hour movie? Is that
I don't
is
know.
that true? That's
don't know.
crazy.
But I know people will straight up like upload full movies on YouTube for free.
I know. Yeah. Like
So if you get lucky, maybe check it out.
yeah, I don't know. But as of now, I don't know. It's on
Yeah.
just Stars.
Okay. Well, check out Alien if you haven't already done so, and tune back in next week to hear what we have to say about that movie. As always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.